Future Fight has limited arena time,
Yeah.
and the grind in that game is far, far more limited compared to MCOC. You can get everything you need to get done in Future Fight in a span of like 45 minutes every day.
Hey everybody, hope you're having a good day. Now, this is another episode of the Podcast of Champions, and it's so exciting that we're able to keep putting these out. I'm having a great time making them. This one's about Future Fight. It's another Marvel game actually owned by the same company, which I recently learned. I learned it in this discussion. They're both owned by Netmarble, Future Fight and Marvel Contest of Champions. This is with Kam again, and he plays both of the games and is kind of aware of the meta of each. And there are some extreme differences, and I think we kind of go into what each game could learn from the other game, as far as sort of the way it's structured and the balance and the end game and social aspects and everything. So it's a very interesting discussion if you're considering playing Future Fight. I definitely think that the takeaway that I had was that it's actually sounds like a pretty cool game, and I could definitely give it a go one time. So we'll see where that ends up. But anyway, this is just mostly a discussion comparing the two games, and especially for people who have not played either, this is probably really good to listen to before you invest a lot of time into it. Also, before we start, I wanted to apologize a few times in this. I get a little too close to the microphone and it spikes a little bit, so just watch out. Maybe listen on a little bit of a quieter volume, just in case I surprise you. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy this one. It's a little bit longer than the other ones, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So here we go.
Do you want to start with Future Fight first? Or?
Yes, I want to start with Future Fight. I want to know.
So you're very excited about that game,
man.
aren't you?
I want to hear just start by explaining to the average Marvel or MCOC player what the game is.
So Future Fight started around 3 years ago, along with MCOC. They pretty much came up together. It is a 2D platformer. It's an MMORPG. You basically build up characters, you farm characters, you build them up, you beat content, you get more characters, and it's a fun game. It's a game with a lot of Marvel characters, with a lot of more niche Marvel characters.
They've got a wider range to choose from.
For sure, yeah. They have a lot of characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They have a lot more Asgardians. They did a lot of tie-ins with the movies when those initially come out.
Right.
And so they have a more expanded roster, and they pretty much they're going almost as strong as MCOC.
Are they one of the top grossing games as well?
Yeah. They're consistently in the top grossing games.
Okay, interesting.
They have a subreddit almost as big as the MCOC subreddit. It's like 25k subscribers or something like that.
Right, and we've occasionally seen every once in a while some overlap, but not much. It's a pretty closed down world to someone who's only been in the MCOC world. Yeah,
for sure. I feel there is some measure of animosity from both games towards each other. MCOC players, they feel this. They feel very reserved towards some concepts that are in Future Fight. They feel very reserved towards gears, towards paywall characters.
Do you think the skill cap is higher in which game? From
someone the skill cap is there is multiple ways of measuring skill in an MMO. I feel. There's the skill of just fighting. There's the fighting aspect of it, and then there's a farming aspect of it.
Yeah.
And resource management.
Definitely.
And I feel the fighting aspect, Future Fight is a lot more limited.
Okay.
Compared to MCOC. In Future Fight, you can't really skill your way through certain fights, right?
There's some that you just have to bring the right combination.
You can't go with the Future Fight equivalent of Kamala Khan against the Future Fight equivalent of, Infinity War Iron Man.
It just won't work for you.
And expect to beat it, yeah.
Okay. I guess
so that there's a clear meta there for sure.
Okay. And I just for some people who might be listening who haven't ever even seen Future Fight, it's kind of like your character is more third person. You're sort of, from what I remember, you're looking over their shoulder, kind of.
You're looking over the shoulder,
and you can move around behind their back. Yeah, you can move around this sort of arena area. There's sort of like a map, and you can go forward, backwards.
It's similar to a lot of the old MMORPGs in Dota and World of Warcraft. It's pretty similar to all of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you control them with a D-pad, yeah.
You have like abilities, and they have cooldowns associated.
You have abilities. You use the abilities to give you effects and damage, and they're basically your special attacks.
Right.
When it comes the special attack equivalents of MCOC, but you have 5 of those instead of just 3.
Mm-hmm. It looks great. Like I've seen gameplay. It's really action packed.
I feel both games are really good looking.
Mm-hmm.
They invest a lot of resources into making their games look good.
I wonder if they
Future Fight. Future Fight is actually designed by Korean developers, and there's like a art portfolio for one of the developers who does the artworks for the game, and it's astounding. It's really great. Yeah.
So are they? Is that whole company based in Korea?
Netmarble is based in Korea.
Wait, are you telling me Netmarble owns both games?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah, so that is why
there's going to be some conspiracy theories here with regards to why would they keep these games so separate? I don't even. Is there maybe some incentive on their part to sort of separate?
I think it was. We don't know most of the backdoor deal scenarios that is going on here, but I feel it was part of their deal where they just bought Kabam around 12.0, and they said that the studio, the Vancouver studio who makes MCOC, will remain in charge of MCOC, so they wouldn't interfere with any of those. I feel there is some executive decisions that are made that are clearly like carried over, maybe
through both games.
Through both games.
Oh, okay.
But when it comes to the creative aspects, there's clear distinctions between the two.
Right. So in Future Fight, when a new champion, are we? Maybe I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm like, say Quake comes out because of the new season of
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's one of the reasons I loved Quake and MCOC before I even knew she was good.
Yeah.
So Quake comes out, there's a new season, and how does one go about targeting Quake in Future Fight?
Oh, that's really interesting. Future Fight is very varied when it comes to character acquisition. In MCOC, you pretty much have one way of acquiring characters, except for a select few like exclusive characters, right?
Right.
You have the crystals and you have the arena in MCOC.
I mean,
but in Future Fight,
that's it. There's a couple paywall characters, and that's really
there's just 2 of them right now.
Yeah,
but one of them is kind of a soft paywall.
Yeah, you mean Vision? Yeah.
Yeah. But in Future Fight, there's several different types of characters. There's characters that are farmable. You can farm for them daily, in story quests or in other form of quests, in special quests, and it's really easy to farm for them.
So you just like run through a quest.
You can either run through them or you can just quote unquote clear ticket them, which is basically just instant clear, right?
Oh god, so satisfying.
Yeah. I know, right? Imagine if you had that for the daily Catalyst quest.
Oh yeah,
instant clear. Oh.
Or just even I auto fight through even Master now mostly.
Yeah. It's ridiculous how easy it's become. So in Future Fight, there's farmable characters, and The characters that are farmable, they come in all different levels of power. There's Angel in that game, who's farmable, who's really powerful, who's very much meta.
Okay.
There is, all the Infinity War characters, for the most part, are farmable because they were, original Avengers and they came with the story mode.
Okay.
And they're pretty much meta right now with their uniforms. I'll explain the uniform part later.
Okay. Yeah, that sounded interesting. I think I even mentioned that in our notes earlier. Uniforms. Yeah. Okay. That was a coincidence.
It's such an interesting way of altering the meta. All right, I'll get to that later.
Okay.
So then there's characters who come into the game and they come in form of selectors. So you select how many shards of that specific character you want, and you get these selectors from clearing this game mode called Shadowland on a weekly basis. And you also get them from most of the deals you can buy with money, and you sometimes get them from login calendars, blah, blah, blah. And it's... So you can get shards from there, you can get shards from farming. You have characters that are paywall, either behind a crystal paywall, which is the equivalent of unit in MCOC.
Oh, okay. So they sell the crystals in the crystal store or something like that?
Yeah. Okay. There's like blue little crystals that you can purchase stuff with. So there are characters who are behind crystal paywalls. And those are also varied in power level and how hard it is to acquire them, actually. And there are characters who are basically non-farmable, but you have to complete the challenge in order to unlock them. And then from unlocking them, you have to spend a ton of resources to just rank them up. And the resources are just gold and, basically gold.
Like ISO or something like that? Some other secondary resource?
There is ISO 8 in that game, but ISO 8 in that game is very different than ISO 8 in MCOC.
So you're talking different power levels. Like definitely MCOC player can identify with that. But is it on purpose, or is it just is it a little bit lack of balance, sort of in the same way MCOC has lack of balance?
I feel there's a little bit of both there. I feel Future Fight monetizes their game through power creeps.
Oh,
and it's such an interesting way of going about doing that, because you have characters who are meta for 5-6 months, and then a uniform for a character comes out for an old characters who used to do nothing, but now they go from 0 to absolute monstrosity. Like
with a new uniform. What they did. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and that is
sort of like a unique synergy or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe not to a
quite. Certain extent. Yeah. It's much more impactful than a unique synergy.
Okay.
The uniforms, the ones that transcend characters, they actually change a lot about them. They change their skills, they change their damage, they change how they interact with gears. I think the most clear example of this was Winter Soldier in that game. He's a farmable character through story missions. And this dude got like 4 or 5 uniforms before Infinity War. From his introduction until Infinity War. I'm not sure about that number. And he was awful. He was awful in all of those iterations. And Infinity War hits, and this dude becomes the number 1 character in his class.
Sounds kind of similar. I mean, he didn't jump that high in MCOC, but he did. He was kind of trashed for so long, and
which is craziness, right? Like this dude can do stuff that none of the paywalls can do.
So how does the community that would be pretty crazy to happen in MCOC. So one character going from 0 to number 1 so quickly. Do people,
because of a uniform, right?
People get happy about that because all of a sudden but if they had not invested any resources into Winter Soldier before, are they pretty much sitting on
it's so much easier. It's so much easier in that game to build up characters.
Okay. That's
building up characters can take you, like, if you don't have any resources, if you're starting from a 1-star character, if you just have the shards for that character, if you just have the biometrics for that character, you can build them up in a matter of days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to like plan rank ups out months in advance.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Yeah.
Which I feel what makes MCOC is a bit more rigid compared to Future Fight, when it comes to, altering your own account and
so
building your own account. Yeah.
So is there sort of like the RPG aspects that MCOC has, where you have your sort of profile, your prestige, your chop champion? Is there any of that going on in Future Fight, or is it more everyone sort of has basically the same roster and opportunity, but it's more of a strategy thing? Or
everyone has the same. Everyone has access to the same resources, right? Future Fight, I feel the biggest thing it lacks is an end game.
Okay.
Which may sound weird coming from some dude who just started playing like 9 months ago, but you finish the game pretty early on if you spend money, and I have spent more money in Future Fight than in MCOC.
Okay.
Which is kind of crazy.
So they sucked you in a little easier than MCOC did.
I feel it's more enticing. It's more it's easier to invest in a game that you know what you're getting.
Right.
100% guaranteed. You can select what you're getting. Then when in MCOC you can spend $100, $200, $300 on an FGMC.
Oh yeah,
and just never get anything, right?
And the actual value of what you're the value system in MCOC is so screwed up. Like $10 $10 for
a shot,
0.4% chance. I mean,
it's crazy. Which I think that's the main reason that a lot of Future Fight players actually hold MCOC as this taboo. We wish Future Fight wouldn't become like this kind of deal. Because back a few months back, they had this update, and they introduced the ultimates, Nova, Blue Marvel, Anti-Man, who is a character nobody knew about until then. So these were characters who were really powerful. They were on top of their class. They were on top of their niche in the meta. And initially, what Netmarble did was that they introduced them in form of loot boxes. You basically had to buy chests to open and randomly unlock these characters, right?
Oh,
yeah. And that is the one and only time Future Fight had a boycott.
Wow. Can you imagine? I mean, it's just like, this is just a daily basis for us.
Yeah,
every 2 weeks there is a new chest.
There is more to MCOC than just the crystal openings and the gacha system.
Right. There definitely is more, but it defines
it's such a
everything.
Big part. Yeah. It's such a big part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can understand the appeal of it when you're trying to make a game that includes all Marvel characters. I think what Kabam's initial thought was, aside from we're gonna build a casino, which is that's obvious, that's good for profit, but they also, I think, wanted to diversify. So we're not gonna give this person Winter Soldier because it's gonna be random. We're gonna randomize this, and everyone's gonna have different champions, and they'll all have this sort of diverse little playing field. But that didn't even happen. Like, even with all the randomness, I would even take a guess that the top end of MCOC is even more sort of like cookie cutter. Everyone's got the same profile than even in Future Fight.
Everyone's got the same profile and the same top champs, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And considering that everything, they got all of those randomly. So how did this happen? This doesn't make any sense. But it's the hoarding. Everyone hoards their resources.
It's the hoarding, and it's at the very top end, it's the copious amounts of cash, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I can get on. I don't like the randomness. Like, I come from The only other game I've ever played competitively was Dota, and
you get all the characters unlocked immediately.
Right? And all at their full potential. It's an entirely strategic game. No luck. And well, I can't remember actually. I think they have like some stuff like critical hits and stuff, but most of the RNG is really, really specific to like a character. You know, everything else is pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, I used to play Dota in college.
Yeah, me
and
too.
there is some, I miss it quite a bit.
Yeah, I am like always very close to just getting sucked right back in.
Oh yeah, I've been warned by people who love me and care about me that I really should not go back to playing Dota.
You just like 45 minutes just disappear, and then all of a sudden you don't even get a water break. You're already in the next one, and you can't leave for another 45 minutes.
Yeah. Sounds about college.
Yeah.
All right. But when it comes to RNG, there is arguments to be made about MCOC being random, and you having to deal with challenges put in front of you with the hand you have been dealt. Because there is not a clear distinction between the top of the meta in MCOC and the bottom of the meta in MCOC when you put the two characters together, if they're at the same power level without any nodes or without any additional stats, just inflating them, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
You can beat Infinity War Iron Man with a Groot if they're both 4-star 550. Good lord, why would anyone 550 Groot?
He'll be in your arena teams.
Yeah.
Oh, shudder.
I saw a 455 one. It was horrifying.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that aspect of MCOC allows you to basically deal with stuff with what you have been given. But when it comes to like end game content, and when it comes to Alliance Wars and not Alliance Quest, because that's just easiness.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Act 5 and Labyrinth of Legend and content that is noted, that is difficult, you don't need certain champions, but you need champions who can deal with things, right?
It used to be that there was only a very small pool. I mean, you're talking one or two.
Yeah.
Now they've expanded. They've done better at expanding it. But
they've gotten better for sure.
I'm not sure. Like, they're going down this like path where damage is everything, and it's not. It doesn't. I think we'll definitely get into that.
We'll get to that in the balance talk.
Yeah.
Next podcast.
But as far as like the whole, let's stick to Future Fight for a while, because I'm still just intrigued by it. And I think a lot of, who knows how long these games will last, but I can see that if one of them, especially if Kabam, if the game imploded, it would happen fast. It would happen overnight, I think.
Yeah.
And everyone would just leave if it got really bad. I don't think it's heading that way. I think
I hope not.
They're doing okay. They're starting to listen, but
I feel both games are fun when you take them as what they should be, right? Mm-hmm. Not saying that you should be casual in both games. No, I'm very much against people dictating that you should be playing this game in this way, or you shouldn't be wasting too much time on this game. It's all personal choices, I feel.
Yeah.
Unless if you're my wife, I'm not gonna take any of that advice from you. But
I have the exact same problem. It's
a struggle.
It's a lifetime struggle.
Yeah.
She had no idea she was marrying a gamer man.
Yeah. You gotta convert them into gamer ladies.
Oh, I tried.
But
yeah,
I feel both games can last a long time.
Yeah, there's definitely staying power. The champions in general. That's why I would be interested in seeing them slow down a little bit, at least in MCOC. So why do we need 25, 26 champions a year?
I feel, so I was talking about this a little while back. with Brian, I think.
Uh-huh.
And there was 2 months of Future Fight where they didn't introduce any new characters, but they had 2 of the best updates in the history of Future Fight, just according to people who have been playing the game for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So during Infinity War, they revamped maybe like 13, 14 characters just by giving them uniforms. Now, uniforms are their way of monetizing the game.
Okay.
And I think it's a good way. It gives you the look you want from the movie. It's not mandatory. Nothing is must buy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're purchasable with crystals that you can get, the free-to-play way.
And can you like equip and unequip these sort of uniforms?
Yeah, but just within seconds you can go just equip and unequip. And,
that's very cool.
Test different stuff, and you can upgrade the uniforms to give your character more stats, and you can alter the character's build to align with the uniform if the uniform has a new effect, or if the uniform gives the character what they didn't used to have.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have that stat on your gear anymore. So you can min max those stuff that way. It's really interesting, I feel. So in MCOC there was talks of uniforms back in 12.0 days, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if Kaban really went through with that. I'm not sure if we saw Infinity War Iron Man not as a new character, but as a uniform to the original Iron Man. I'm not sure if that would have caused an uproar from the community, right?
Yeah, they could have. For any of these newer reskins of champions, they have the option of testing it out like that. But there was such a backlash around. When was it? Was it 12.0? There was a time when they were talking about gears. Everyone got super scared. I remember.
Yeah.
And I was confused. Everyone started talking about gears. I had no idea what gears were. Looked it up. I said, it doesn't sound horrible, and then people were kind of explaining like, oh, they're just gonna sell them, and you'll never get the best gear. I don't know. Like,
you'll never get the best character you can have.
You'll constantly be struggling, and I'm like, I kind of feel like I already am constantly struggling.
It's the story of my life.
I don't know how it's gonna change, but yeah,
gear is interesting. I think gear is something that can be done right, and if done right, it gives you options to make the characters,
and it goes
for
on
the
and off.
Specific game mode. Yeah.
Okay.
For the specific game mode that you want, right? I don't think Future Fight does gear right. All right, so let me explain this.
Yeah, explain the little gear.
When it comes to gears in Future Fight, you have a very limited pool of stats that you want on your characters, right? There's resist stats, which are completely useless. There's a bunch of their immunity stats, which are completely useless. So you basically are limited to elemental damage for elemental characters like Phoenix or Psylocke there does mind damage, or Scarlet Witch does mind damage.
Okay.
So you're basically limited to those for those very specific characters. You're limited to immunity to guard break, which is this effect that prevents your character from completing their skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want max HP that gives your character more health. Then crit rate and crit damage. That's pretty much all the stuff you want, and that is maybe 50% of the available gear stats in Future Fight. Right?
Okay.
So I don't think they're doing it right, because there are so many stats in that game that are completely meaningless.
So you could have a gear that just doesn't help you at all.
Yeah, you can have a gear that gives you 60% resistance to fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
To fire effects, and then you can put that gear on the character, put that gear on your, Hulk, whatever, and put that Hulk in front of a Jean Grey. That Jean Grey who's super meta in that game actually, is gonna kill your Hulk as if he never had those gears.
Why? Just because the way that it's calculated is just not very effective?
Because there's the stat calculations, and there's penetration, and then there's effects on, OP meta characters who basically reduce those resistances. So what's the point of having those resistances anymore if you can't actually counter the meta with those?
Uh-huh.
So I feel it can be really hit or miss. Like, Mind Resist or Fire Resist in Future Fight are basically the MCOC equivalents of, pulling an Iron Patriot.
Yeah, or the fatigue debuff.
The fatigue debuff, yeah. The exhaustion debuff. What am I gonna do with this?
Yeah, just will power up the enemy there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the gear in there affect stats. Do they also affect? Is it just the uniforms that affect the champion's abilities, or does the gear also add or edit abilities?
The uniforms definitely affect it, but there is gear that increases damage for certain skills, which I find really fascinating. There's a certain gear in that game that is hard to obtain, but still obtainable as a free-to-play player. And that gear basically increases your damage from chain hit attacks, right? For example, your Cable's SP1 in MCOC, it does a bunch of bullets, right?
Right.
Now, consider that a chain hit, a hit with a multi-hit component.
Okay.
Now, in Future Fight, there's skills that do like 60 hits. One skill does 60 hits.
Oh, wow.
One skill does an infinite number of hits as long as you can keep holding it down, right?
Oh, wow.
Now, that gear is just bananas on that champion, right?
Yeah. Okay. But I can see that sounds cool. Like, it's like, okay, this thing helps these people. But it does sort of box you in a little bit, does it? Like, okay, well, if you're going to level up that champion, you're definitely going to want to put that gear on and not something else.
Well, if you want a top tier build, yeah.
Right. Okay.
There's always, min-maxing is inevitable, I feel. But even in Future Fight, you can build a character for two different purposes, right?
Okay.
You can build them for PvP,
mm-hmm.
or you can build them for PvE, for, player versus player or player versus, environment.
Okay, that's more familiar to me. That's back to Dota a little bit.
That's all back to Dota.
Yeah,
for sure.
I really, really wish we could do that in MCOC. I mean, there are.
I feel the MCOC equivalent of that is putting on suicides on and off, right?
Masteries, yeah, but it costs money. Like,
it costs money, and it applies to all of your champs. Yes. What if I want my Captain America, who happens to be the number 1 character or the number 2 character in the Future Fight meta?
Mm-hmm.
What if I want my Captain America to be defensive now, but tomorrow that I want to use him to beat up this boss that has a ton of HP?
Mm-hmm.
So he can be defensive for arena. And then when I want to beat up a big boss, he can do a ton of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can do that in Future Fight, but in MCOC, even you could even throw suicides on the captain, but you're gonna kill yourself. It's you're much more. But
and in MCOC
the arena in MCOC there is no reason to build yourself up for it. You're gonna win. It's just a matter of how much time will you put in. It's all about management of your time and resources, and people like Brian have gone to the extreme of maximizing that, and it definitely has some payoff associated with it. But as far as like the actual game and you playing, you could have no masteries, and you're still gonna probably get through those fights.
Arena in Future Fight is actually very different compared to Arena in MCOC,
Is it
You
live
have
PvP?
no.
Okay, no.
Unfortunately, not. There is live co-op,
Okay.
but there is no live PvP. I think there used to be, but then it didn't work. I wasn't playing back then. I'm not sure about that.
How live is the co-op? Is it like real
It's
time?
very live.
Ooh.
It's super live. Yeah.
Interesting.
You can chat to people live in co-op. It's similar to Dungeons, but less elaborate.
But are you in
Anyways.
the same arena with someone in that? As in, not arena. I mean, like, can you see characters move in real time?
Yeah.
Oh,
You can.
okay.
You and like two other people are in the same arena, and you're trying to all kill a boss, and whoever does the most damage get the most rewards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but then that sort of takes away. I was thinking, like, you bring a healer and bring a. Sort of,
I wish it was like that.
okay.
I definitely wish it was like that, but no, unfortunately,
it's
not.
more just like who can just spam as much on the boss.
Yeah, it's very selfish. Okay. Let me tell you, I have done like matches when I have done like 99% of the damage.
You're just like, yep, all mine.
Yeah, all mine. So going back to the arena system there.
Yeah.
They have the end game of Future Fight is auto-played arena, pretty much, right?
Okay.
You select a team. The opposing alliance selects a team. They go in an arena. You can't control them. They do skills based on the AI, and we see who comes out winning, right? And people build their characters for that, and it's just ridiculous builds.
Wait, you can't control your own characters?
You can't control them, no.
You just watch them fight.
You just watch them fight, which is super frustrating at times.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. I mean, so what you're doing is you're building them so that the AI can't make as many mistakes.
Yeah, you're building them so the AI can make mistakes, but your character has enough HP, or they have enough defenses, or they have enough, invincibility, or guard hits that they can survive long enough to be victorious in that fight. It doesn't matter how much damage they do, because characters in PvP in Future Fight can one-shot each other with one skill if they land it and if there's no defenses on the other end, right? And then there's their version of Arena. Well, this is basically Alliance Wars in the Future Fight meta. And then there's a version of Arena, and the Arena in that game is limited. You can only do 10 arena fights per day.
Oh, wow.
And it can be really hard to win those fights.
I'm just thinking of how many thousands of fights we have on our profiles in Marvel and MCOC. It's from someone who plays only exclusively Future Fight. I'm sure they would just be shocked the amount of mindless arena fights we do. Oh.
Well, arena fights, they are not necessarily mindless if you want to win them. You can auto fight them.
Oh no, I mean in MCOC, ours are mindless. You could swipe right and swipe left, and mostly you'll win. I think that's how people bought Arena. I have a suspicion, because there's these apps that you can swipe right, and then it will record your swipe. And if you just recorded a backdraft intercept, and then also recorded the request for help, and then add new champions. I mean, you could just have a guy get the computer would probably get you to like 20 streak or something, and then maybe die.
Yeah, that's why they banned for emulators in MCOC.
Yeah,
but emulators are allowed in Future Fight, because you can't really do that.
Because it's just the AI, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so these 10 arena fights you have per day. How long does one arena fight take?
Oh, it's like 30 seconds to like a minute or 2 minutes.
Oh wow.
So you basically, here's how you do arena in Future Fight. You select a 3-man team every week, and you do every arena fight with those 3 champions.
Okay.
Yeah. You can change your team as you go on, but you really don't want to, because you want your best options there.
Right.
And every week they ban characters who you can't use in that game mode,
Uh-huh.
and they also recommend characters that you may want to use, but they may not be great characters, but they give you extra points.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like the featured champion or whatever, featured hero, something like that.
Well,
I mean, I know you're not going to
They're
win.
not
them.
always new characters.
Okay.
It's so weird how they select those recommended characters, because they're not always top meta. They're not always.
Does it feel random, or is
bottom meta?
Or is it chosen?
It's pretty random. Maybe they choose it. Maybe they have a random selection there.
Okay.
But the part that I like the most about that whole arena system is the banning, because they can ban. So in that game, they can ban Scarlet Witch, Thanos, Jean Grey. They can ban Quicksilver.
Right.
And you ban all these, and all the cancerous arena meta is gone, and you can actually win.
Yeah.
With your skill and with your builds, and without worrying about getting one-shotted by Jean Grey.
Yeah, banning is a great way to let let the players sort of control their own destiny a little bit. Like just going back to Alliance Wars in MCOC, I think it would be so cool if each alliance was able to ban like 1 or 2 champions from participating. And
alliances could ban champions from each other. Yeah.
Oh, it would be crazy. Like it's like, okay, this we know we're not going to be facing any Dominoes on defense next week because we banned her. But then that could just open the door up for the opposing alliance to sneak in something else, or clear their attack super easy based on I don't know. It would be very. Cool.
There's both defensive bans and offensive bans. I feel both can. Both can work pretty great. No Corvus this week.
Yeah, that would be. Well, it might be bad right now. He's so necessary. I mean, the war just got so much more difficult. But that goes back to I cannot get away from Dota. They had the way you pick teams in Dota. Did you ever play it competitively? Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, the picking team section is where I think you start off by
on the selection screen. Yeah,
you start off by banning, and then you pick and you alternate picks, and it's just magical. it's the best part of one of the best parts of the game is the selection,
and it defines your fate right there, right?
Oh, you can predict the match win pretty consistently based on picks,
and it's awesome, and
yeah,
I would love to see that. And that would evolve the meta even more. I feel in a setting like MCOC, if you could choose characters that you ban.
Oh yeah, imagine we had each alliance only got to choose 30 champions, right, for each, and then that was their offense and their defense, right? So you place your one champion on your one node, and then
you can limit this to like master. So people who are still developing their roster, they can use their whole roster. But I would love to see something like this in like the top 20 Alliance Wars.
Oh yeah, and then you get the interesting rank ups are all of a sudden your number 5 champion becomes extremely important. It's hidden.
All of a sudden, my Punisher 2099 at 455 can see some action, baby.
Oh yeah, definitely. Get those bishops on attack. Get those
Bishop,
get the sentry out.
Saber 2 sentry.
Gotta bust that sentry out soon.
Busts. Do you put him on defense?
Yeah, I don't have a choice. He's my profile champion, so I think they put him on mini boss nodes usually. He got a kill recently, actually.
Really?
It's a lot of hit points, man. A 565 sentry. Man, I maxed that limber.
His SB1 can throw you off, and his heavy as well. Well, you dash back twice and that.
Yeah, and he actually attacks a little bit like Venom, like he continues. Yeah, and Medusa, so he can throw some people off if you're nervous, if you're not feeling on your game. But yeah, he's not good. Most times he just gets rolled right over.
But going back to the different builds and stuff in Future Fight, it's interesting to see how limited masteries are there. So when you, on one hand, you have this great customization for each and every one of your characters.
Mm-hmm.
You can give them different gear. You can give them different add-on to their gears. I'm just altering words here.
Right.
You can give them different ISO 8 sets that give them even more stats. And you can give them uniforms, right? So you can customize your characters almost exactly to the teeth how you want them to be.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to masteries,
and the meta is sort of just, there's one way you can do it that's objectively the best, but a lot of other good ways to do it.
Not necessarily.
Is that not how it is?
Not necessarily. For example, you can, as I mentioned, Captain America is really powerful there. And you can build him for arena. You can build him to survive in arena.
Oh yeah, you said
and
that.
he has like double the hit points compared to any other character in the game. So that dude is gonna survive, and if you give him a gear that makes him regenerate, he's gonna survive even more, right?
Okay, and then you can just build him for damage, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, but then you can build him for damage, and he can do like 20 million damage in like 5 minutes.
20 million?
Oh, the hit points there are ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, they've gone overboard with the numbers, huh?
Yeah. They need to cut some zeros probably.
Just drop a few zeros off the numbers. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I guess it's okay, but it's just so hard to do math on stuff like that.
Yeah, and you cannot keep track of the numbers, and like you hit a skill, and the skill has like 60 hits.
Yeah.
I don't know how much my skill hit for. I don't know if my gear is working. But when it comes to masteries, they have these things called comic cards. So each comic card is a cover of a comic book that you can equip, that you can rank up and customize, but you can equip it, and it gives you stat boosts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in comic cards, you can equip up to 5 of them, and you want them as max rank possible. And this is kind of where the distinction between the free-to-player, Future Fight player, and the spending player comes in.
Okay.
Because comic cards, some of them are not obtainable through, the grinding way, and
right.
You have to buy chests that have a random chance to drop those. There is an alternate way, but it costs maybe $50, equivalent to $50 for one comic card.
Is that, does it feel like a lot to drop for just that, the value you're getting?
I don't think so. Not for me, but I think it's very subjective, because you still see a lot of people who run with the free-to-play cards.
Okay.
And it's not easy to... So what I was saying earlier about resistances, and, there are so many useless stats in that game. It's not easy to get rid of those useless stats and only, have the good stats on your cards. Because each card has, variable options. And those variable options, every time you, quote unquote, re-roll that card, it changes, and it changes randomly. And you can have from having an okay card to having an awful card to having a, oh my god, kill me now card to having like the best card ever with the best stats.
Wow.
Which is kind of random.
Yeah.
And I don't like the randomness there. I feel it's unnecessary to a certain extent. It makes a difference between, it doesn't involve any skill. It doesn't involve how many rerolls you have farmed. Well, it does kind of, but you can farm like 20 and still come out with nothing, right?
Oh, very familiar.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on like 1,000 PhCs right now. Don't even expect. Yeah, there's nothing in there.
It's just dust.
So, but it sounds like there's so many different ways to customize though, that it actually even if someone's got like figured out maybe, okay, this is the best way to arrange for this specific scenario, that there's so many different ways to arrange your champions, your stats, your uniforms, your gear, your cards,
Yeah,
that somebody can come up with a new way to do something like that nobody ever tried before, you know?
yeah, for sure. I feel even like we see stuff on the Future Fight subreddit pretty often where, they have character discussions.
And it's just
You know,
theory
instead of
crafting, quote
yeah,
unquote.
instead of the weekly Bractos thread, they have a character discussion thread that is stickied on their subreddit. What a concept! I know, right?
Yeah.
And people who know a lot about the game come and suggest different builds for the character,
Right.
and it's always varied.
It's interesting.
Every character excels differently in different game modes with different builds.
Yeah.
There are characters who are kind of more cookie cutter, who you want to build a certain way, who you feel obligated to build a certain way, if you want to min-max the most stats. But at the end of the day, it's all in your control. You can kick ass with Jean Grey or Scarlet Witch.
There's
in the arena.
Is there a bottom tier where there's just champions or heroes that you just nobody touches them?
So Gamora in that game is apparently really bad. I haven't built her yet, but I know the person who has a number 1 Gamora in the game. They have character rankings, right?
Okay.
So they rank your characters based on the stuff you have invested in them, and the builds and stuff.
Okay.
It's automated.
So that's the RPG-ish aspect.
Yeah. So I know the person who has the number 1 Gamora, and they can do like actual end game content with that character, right?
Okay.
Even though they're pretty bad, apparently, they they have cleared like the ward boss challenges.
So it does seem a little more balanced, or at least gives the player more control over the balance of their.
There is control. I'm not sure about balance.
Maybe not.
You can get a character who's on top of the meta, and don't do anything with them. Don't do anything to them. You can have them at 4 out of 6 stars, and go into some of the most challenging content in game, and still solo it and not take any damage, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about Scarlet Witch in that game, who's just awfully broken.
Interesting. Scarlet Witch, huh?
Awfully broken, you say?
Yeah. Owned by Netmarble, huh? Watch out, guys.
We know how it ends.
Yeah, we've seen this story before.
Yeah, man. So I feel there is power gap for sure, and there is power creep. And as I mentioned, that's how they monetize the game. They monetize the game based on new characters or new uniforms being more powerful, and so they don't nerf or buff characters. They just buff them through uniforms that you can buy with crystals.
Okay.
It's it's not the true free to play. Not free to play. It's not the true MMORPG way. You have in Dota, you can't just give a character a uniform that you can buy with money, and now your character is not is not just slugging along anymore. Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't fly at all. But,
no, it's got to all be equal in that game.
It's got to all be equal.
See, I don't see why you can't monetize a game like that. I mean, I'm sure. Actually, I don't know. Is Dota free to download these days?
Yeah.
Okay, so they've monetized it somehow. I'm guessing with skins and maybe animal carriers, different ones you can buy that look different. I don't know.
Skins are a part of it.
I'm not sure how they make money. They have tournaments and stuff, so there's that, those can make money.
There's advertisers for those tournaments, right?
Yeah.
I feel a big chunk of it comes from there. But there's people who buy tickets to go to, international or other tournaments for Dota.
Yeah. It's just
I'm not
so
sure how it works.
competitive that it can't help but make money, Like you like any sport, like the money is just going to arrive as soon as the best people in the world start playing it. People are
Yeah,
going to
you
watch.
need that platform though, right? You need a platform.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think mobile games are there yet.
Maybe not. But Dota was making money before it even was
Before
its own
it
game, even when it was
yeah.
in Warcraft. I mean, there was tournaments.
It was just a skin, right? It was just a mod of Warcraft, and it was
it was just a mod. It was so good. I would argue that maybe even better than what it turned into. It's just it was so beautiful back then. The artwork in Warcraft 3 was really good, and it was just so unique.
But it also comes down to rights and having to pay for the rights to Marvel. I don't think are cheap necessarily.
Well, it's a very easy way to get tons of people interested right off the get go. Oh, these have the Marvel characters in them. Like, boom! I automatically like them better than 130 random characters that you just invented.
The monetization discussion.
Mm-hmm.
In Future Fight, they also have a VIP system, which I think if MCOC introduced something like that, people would riot. People would
yeah.
There's no way that a VIP system would fly in MCOC. But I think Future Fight players actually like the VIP system because it feels like an appreciation to a certain degree to the people who actually help and support the game.
Well,
help and support the developers.
What is the goal in Future Fight? What is the?
Oh, the goal is just having fun, building up your characters, and if you want to be an end game player, mm-hmm. I think which I'm not even close, and I don't intend to be, the top 16 alliances.
Okay, so they have alliances.
Yeah, they go and compete in alliance tournaments, and that's the end game of Future Fight. And I'm not sure what's the reward for any of those. I don't think the rewards are actually good.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm trying to find the difference, right? Why is there so much more passion with regards to
MCOC
the money
and the end game, right?
Right. The whole, anytime there's monetized content in MCOC, there is a huge backlash. Like the paywall for a character, like everyone hates it, or there's some sort of deal that comes out and everyone's just like, that is the worst, and it's like, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. But why do people care so much? And I think it's because the competitive part of this game is really the only way to get those resources. Like, you've got single player content up until a point, and
I feel this is how it should be, though, right?
Well, it's definitely more interesting and more addictive.
Yeah, you don't want for sure. I feel this is what MCOC gets right.
But that's why the passion is there, right, from the players. Like, that's why the outrage happens when there's a mistake. It's because they actually,
and also that's why people are so attached to their alliances, right?
Yeah, people care, like they really deeply care about the game, and it's mostly because of this alliance.
I don't think it's the same in Future Fight. You don't have allegiances, and you don't have loyalty the same way you have in MCOC, because
mm-hmm.
You don't actually communicate with your alliance mates as much as you do in MCOC. You have people who personally on a deep, personal level,
mm-hmm.
in a ton of alliances in MCOC, and I think that's only true about certain top alliances in Future Fight, and maybe some more sprinkled along in there, right?
Yeah.
My alliances, I only communicate with them through the in-game chat, and it's awful, but
It's
gets the
enough.
job done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really casual alliance, and my alliance leader hit me up on Twitter someday, and I'm like, how did you find me?
You thought you covered your tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I should have.
definitely. I couldn't believe the change. Well, okay, so I was in an alliance early on, but I wasn't doing anything productive in the game
Yeah,
until I
yeah.
joined an alliance. I mean, I was doing quick matches, and like it was
The
just messing
MCOC
around.
cannot be played outside of an alliance.
Absolutely not. And then once you do, you just have this influx of resources, and then it just starts snowballing, and then you're able to complete more of the single player content, and then you're able to help your alliance more. And if you're progressing faster than your alliance mates, you join maybe a more powerful alliance, and all of a sudden you're forming these like bonds with other players that are sort of in the same mode as you, pushing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you find yourselves just way out of your depth competing with like rich people. And
Very, very rich. Yeah.
yeah, and you care really like a lot, and then it's a crazy
And then you
social.
try to care as much as they care, and then
Oh my
they care
god.
a lot with their wallet, and then you're like, oh my god.
Oh, they care so much with their
They
wallets.
care oh so much.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's that like like the social manipulation that the game does is pretty impressive. Like it's not a bad thing.
they
It's a
do
good
really.
thing.
Yeah.
But it's just
it
interesting.
may sound like it has a negative connotation, but it's the point of the game, right?
Yeah, the
It's a
alliance.
multiplayer game.
There would be no
Even if
point
there's no.
without
Yeah.
the friends and stuff that you sort of make.
And monetization, I feel. I mentioned earlier that Future Fight has limited arena time,
Yeah.
and the grind in that game is far, far more limited compared to MCOC. You can get everything you need to get done in Future Fight in a span of like 45 minutes every day.
Wow.
You can get it done faster. I've done it faster. And
And are there any additional rewards for adding more time, or is it just for fun?
no, you start to actually lose value and lose items if you try to do too much.
Interesting.
You start to lose resources if you start to do too much. So the amount of currency you gain in that game is, I think, it's just abysmal compared to MCOC, and the amount of free-to-play resources you can get, the amount of free-to-play units you can get from just doing arena and your daily quests and such.
Yeah.
Right? You can farm arena literally infinitely. If you have a big enough roster, you can farm it 24 hours a day and never run out, right? And you can have access to the maximum amount of units possible.
And for free?
And for free, yeah. So in Future Fight, you get crystals from completing the timeline, the arena fights, the 10 arena fights that I told you about.
Yeah.
And you get those are distributed weekly. And you get maybe like 180 to 200 weekly. And compare that to a pack that you can buy from the shop. And the pack gives you 12,000 crystals for $100.
Oh, is that 12,000's a lot? I mean, it's a lot in MCOC, but
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
12,000 crystals.
Oh, I forgot. Crystals are the currency. Okay.
Yeah, the currency. So 12,000 crystals will get you 12 uniforms, 12 high-end uniforms, right? They can get you 2 premium cards that can like inflate the stats for all of your characters like indefinitely. But compare that to the weekly payout of 200 crystals from doing arena.
Yeah,
and
that's quite small.
you have to do arena well. You have to do well to get 200.
And is it a skill thing, or at least a strategy thing?
It is a strategy thing. It is a strategy thing for the most part. You want to choose the right team, and you want to avoid the right teams.
You're selling Future Fight pretty well.
So I feel comparing that, when it comes to resources, that game is a lot less free-to-play friendly. Is a lot less farmable when it comes to resources. But you can hoard materials, and you can also, this is the deal that everyone buys in that game. Just the most popular deal in that game is a Tony Stark stash, and you pay $4 and you get 2,400 crystals over the period of a month, right?
Oh, okay. Everyone's got that going pretty much, subscription
Everyone's
style.
Everyone's got that subscription going pretty much.
That's really interesting. The subscription. So it just re-ups every month. If you can just set it that way, or you just buy it every month. You just rebuy it. It's always available.
I prefer the rebuying. It keeps control on it.
Yeah.
I don't like subscriptions.
$4
just charges you.
So it's so manageable of a number.
It's very manageable. Yeah. It's very enticing for sure, and it's there is multiple subscriptions in that game, right? Mm-hmm. There's the subscription for paywall characters. For some of the paywall characters, you can only obtain them if you subscribe to their premium bio selector, premium character chart selector, and that is $10 for a month. That will give you the character and will allow you to build them up to their max power level. So you pay $10 for a character to go from 0 to hero, and that $10 gets you an FGMC in MCOC.
Yeah, which you could extrapolate out. You're probably paying maybe even thousands of dollars to max out a
it's bananas,
champion.
Right?
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah.
So when it comes to that, I feel it's a bargain.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you value in these games. Like, I think it feels like me and you value sort of the same. Like, I'd like to get the champion I want or the hero I want, and I'd like to upgrade them and use them immediately. And I'd like to strategize around that later on. But I don't want to have to spend money and time.
The paywall characters in that game are not necessarily better than free-to-play characters.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get Hyperion, who in that game is far worse than... let me bring up an MCOC equivalent. Is far worse than Iron Man. Just the OG Iron Man. He cannot do anything for you.
But he's paywall.
You can build up Hyperion. He's paywall. He cannot, nowhere nearly as easily as Iron Man can complete just any piece of content for you. Right?
But do they keep it in their back pocket, though? They say, oh, okay, well, new uniform available for Hyperion next month.
They promise that they're going to rework him.
Yeah. Okay.
They promise that they're going to rework him, but no rework yet.
Yeah.
And, I think maybe 1 or 2 out of the 10 or 12 total available paywalls is actually meta or, top of their, quote unquote niche. Mm-hmm. But even those characters can be easily replaced by free-to-play characters and get, equal or better results if you have the better build.
Yeah.
Let's
go to, I want to, there's something we wrote here in the notes about the wish list from the 2 games. And then I'd like to dive into balance in MCOC.
Yes.
Strictly MCOC after that. Because there's just so much we could go over that we've got here. But yeah, from Future Fight, you mentioned a few things that they could do better, but what's the number one thing you think that they need to work on?
They need to work on alliance game modes.
Okay,
I think that's
build up the relationship builder.
Yeah, build up the relationship for sure.
Yeah.
And they also need game modes, end game modes that are alliance based, that are not only limited to, the top 16 alliances. I may be getting that number wrong.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be only limited to those people. And it also, in that game mode that I talked about, that those top 16 alliances compete in, is the game mode that you select your characters, and they go in an arena, and the AI controls them.
Oh, they're not even controlling them in that mode.
No, and it's horrendous, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that does seem like a tall order, though. That's a big project for the Future Fight team.
Yeah. Just a game mode that pretty similar to Alliance Wars. I think it could work pretty great there.
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel Future Fight. That's the only big part that I think they can learn from MCOC and how MCOC does things.
And on the reverse side,
they really shouldn't take the take the gacha system from MCOC.
No.
Yeah.
Even the people stuck in the gacha system, nobody's advocating for it. They just
definitely not. And
they just acknowledge that their lives are ruined by it.
Yeah, I feel if you can't control yourself, it's dangerous, right?
Some people have problems, man. You see it, the new champion comes out and just instantly hundreds of dollars just evaporate.
I mean, I understand that some people can spend it, and I appreciate that if they're in my alliance and they can put the champ at defense or something like that, then get a few kills.
Yeah.
But when it comes to spending, it can get out of control, I feel, and it has for people I know from the past. It can be dangerous, to be honest.
Yeah.
But when it comes to stuff MCOC can learn from Future Fight, I think it's a lot. Based on what you heard, so what do you think they can actually learn from Future Fight?
So based on what I heard, I'm a big fan of this uniform concept. I really like the idea of not only making your hero look the way you want him to look, but also changing their abilities and their stats for a specific situation on a whim, and only for that character. We're not talking about masteries. I love it. The whole strategy aspect of that. I think that there's definitely strategy in MCOC, but it's not that complicated. And
MCOC, I think the two biggest examples of strategy that I can think of is putting on phase when you place defense and putting on scouter lens when you're attacking.
And most of that's just like a money thing. Like, are you willing to pay the units to respec all the time?
I mean,
if you had unlimited
the uniforms
units,
would also be a money thing. Would also be a crystal thing or unit thing or money thing.
Yeah, but it's much more interactive, right? Because you're changing the way you look. You're changing potentially your animations. I'm not sure how it works in that game, but
you're changing everything pretty much.
Yeah, it would just be so cool. So that's what I think MCC could learn from a game like Future Fight. But I don't think that's MCC's biggest problem. I think balance is the biggest problem still. It's just my opinion. I know they have major issues, but the game would be a lot more fun.
We will talk about balance some more after I douse myself in some a jug of water.
You want to take a break? Because I was thinking of actually
after we finish this round, maybe.
Yeah, because I could stop recording and I want to save the file, and just so I don't put all my eggs in one basket either.
Yeah. But just to wrap it up,
sure.
I feel MCOC can learn a lot from Future Fight. There is the character acquisition.
Oh, right.
That can be a lot less painful.
See, that's a tall order, though. I mean, I agree. I think that the way you've described how to get champions, awesome. I would love it. I think everybody would. But I think the core of this game is the casino, is the randomness. I don't know what Kabam would do if they weren't selling crystals.
I feel at some point it loses its allure when it comes to just popping crystals. I've been playing this game for 3 years, and I never really fell for the pure gacha system of FGMCs and old featured hero crystals that you got 4 stars out of. I never really fell for that too much. Maybe like few bucks here, few bucks there, few grinded units here, few grinded units there.
Yeah.
But I used to open a lot of featured 5-star crystals because I needed them, because I needed characters to enhance my roster, to get through PvE content like Labyrinth of Legends.
Those made sense though. I mean, you could do the math. I did do the math.
Those made some sense.
Like at a certain point, even the current featured system, it does make sense depending on what your goals are. But
but at the end, like today, I popped a 5-star crystal, got Morningstar. I was happy for like a few minutes, but then it
then
just
you realize
fades.
You don't have enough alphas to take her up.
But then I realized that I have 3 mystics as 455, and I have a mystic as 565. So I have 4 characters at 455 plus. All I realized was that I can't rank her, and I can't take her up.
So what's the point?
I want to rank her, but then I got a 6-star. I popped a 6-star crystal, and I got a Red Hulk, and I'm happy. But it's not like necessarily a satisfaction feeling, right? It's not an achievement feeling. I didn't achieve anything.
And we already have the lower versions of these characters. There's no difference in them. The 2-star behaves the exact same way as the 6-star.
As a 6-star, right?
It's like
in Future Fight, when you advance a character from 2-star to 6-star, they unlock 4 new attacks. They unlock 4 new skills.
Yeah, that's something we didn't really touch on, which is a huge difference between the two games. Is that the stars are not. Yeah, the stars get changed in Future Fight, whereas in MCOC you just pull the same champion.
They just introduced recently a 6th skill, which is unlocked if you take that 6-star character and you take them from the level cap of 60. Now you take them into challenging fights and you unlock their potential. And once you unlock that potential,
and they did that for all the characters.
It's done for like some characters, but they're gonna expand it to all of the characters.
Wow.
And that you unlock their potential, you can rank them up from 60 to 70 by investing gold and resources into them, and then you can advance them to from the current maximum of tier 2 to a tier 3, and then they unlock this 6th skill, which is like bananas, and it does a ton of damage, and it has a lot of like meta effects.
Wow.
And it's like a hero's journey, to be honest. Like you start as a teensy weensy 1-star, and then you become a 6-star, and then you advance to tier 2, and then you build up the character some more, and then you advance to tier 3, and then you smash people, right?
Yeah, that has some major appeal to it. Like the journey you're talking about. I just hate seeing all those useless
6-star,
1 and 2 stars on the bench in MCOC.
I have a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and a 6-star Red Hulk. The 2-star, the 3-star
is exclusive. The 2-star should be.
Yeah, the 2-star is my favorite because it's an exclusive. The 2-star is my favorite. He's my baby.
Yep.
So I love that one. But that one does the same stuff as the 3-star. And that one does the same stuff as a 4-star.
Yeah.
And that one does the same stuff as a 5-star, but the 5-star gets this tiny little animation.
Oh, the stupid
that gives you
minigame.
20% more damage on your SP3 that you never want to use.
Yeah.
But then you give the 6-star, and the 6-star gives you a tiny bit of healing.
Adrenaline. The biggest letdown. I think that might have been one of the biggest letdowns for me when I discovered what adrenaline actually was.
Yeah. I feel for the longest time.
I was hoping, we'll get into this later, but I was hoping for something along the lines of like a mini game in the fight that sort of allowed you to maybe chain more combos or something. Not just, keep playing exactly as you're doing. And I feel
this is my biggest gripe with MCOC, because characters and unlocking them and getting them, it's no it's no achievement.
Yeah.
Maybe ranking them is a certain level of achievement, but the biggest achievements of MCOC comes from, the fighting part and the skill part of it, which I like, but I think is a huge missed opportunity in, actually obtaining those characters. Because if I was a whale, that sounds like the start of a song. Don't worry, I'm not going to start singing. If I was a whale, oh man.
No pressure.
But if I was a whale and I was spending like $200, $300, $400 every character that came out,
yeah,
and I got them, I wouldn't feel accomplished. I would just feel like I've just lost $400.
Yeah, for what? You can't even. They do throttle us in the game with rank up materials, and so even the most expensive, or even the richest person in the world can't pass a certain level.
Yeah, and this may seem like we are asking for freebies, but I think it's quite the opposite of that. It's not necessarily that part of it that I'm actually pointing out to right now. We have 112 characters in MCOC, or even more, and the acquisition of that and the storage level of that, it just feels pointless.
Yeah, definitely. When you go ahead and you get your first the 2 stars do have a small difference between the 1 stars, right? There's an extra special attack.
Right?
After that, it's just the same thing, just more numbers, bigger numbers.
And they had this cool thing that the 2 stars unlock a special attack when you rank them to rank 3, which is really cool, right?
Yep. They should have. I think that would have been cool if it was maintained a little bit. Something.
Yeah, maybe the 3-star unlocked another special attack when they rank to max rank.
Why can't we have 4 bars of power? 5 bars. I'm trying to think of the consequences of that. There's probably some problem with it, but yeah.
Is there a problem with it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking
maybe
power
that's
control
how
would be
the game was just built from the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just regardless of that, I feel the biggest thing MCOC can take from Future Fight is character acquisition and not making it RNG based.
Yeah, that would be a game changer.
That would be great. That's not going to happen, but
it's not. We got people out there who are making videos of how much can they spend in one go.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm right there with everybody else in the public. I just love watching people do that. But it's I don't know. I couldn't do it myself. And
there is a lot more to MCOC than just dropping, money and units on characters or crystals. But I feel that's the thing MCOC is known by, the gacha system, right?
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of Future Fight players have this animosity towards MCOC, despite the game having such a great alliance system, right?
Yeah.
Which I think Future Fight is definitely missing. Anyways, I think we have rambled long enough.
Yeah, that's good for the comparison topic. Yeah. That was a great comparison, by the way. I think I learned a lot about Future Fight. I might I'll consider if I have some free time soon, maybe